Welcome back, y'all. We've got one more series coming your way. It is CLG Challengers taking on Cincinnati Fear. And actually, you know what? I betrayed y'all. Before we get into the heart of the series, I just want I need to get my bully cubby propaganda up real quick.
Okay.
What? You made a call and you called it
Spyrax hits the two-man Tempered Fate.
You called it Tempered Fate. You called it.
That is Bardalt, right?
Yeah,
but
that is not
Rafa, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to just glance over.
No, it's fine. So for feed, or I guess for context, you put pressure on me now. I'm gonna turn all red. I have a stream, and my follow and sub notifications are both Rafa slip ups. So I feel like this is mild.
Fair,
the fact that he gets me back. But I will say that still is my favorite hot mic ever.
You were hot. What can I say? Anyway, moving on. CLG Challengers and Cincinnati Fear is our final series of the day. And when we're looking at the lineup here for Cincinnati Fear, I know a lot of the attention is always going to be on Faisal and Perry because they have been a standout top jungle duo. But also coming from the Evil Geniuses Prodigies roster of last year, there were some of the standouts before Perry got a chance to play on Dignitas Challengers during the summer split, made a top 2 run in our Proving Grounds. But I know we've been sleeping on Manui, who's actually been stepping up a lot of his game over the split here, Cubby.
I keep on saying that Fear is like the easiest team for me to talk about in this league because they have just blown us out of the water when it comes to what the expectations were and what this team actually is. And for me, I mean, the player that I think has really embodied that the most is Manui. I was even talking, with you, the Tigers, before we were talking today, like on stream, like, hey, like what's going on with these players, like some catch up. And I was sharing that, in a lot of tryouts, I watched tape. I was able to sit down on some tryouts. I was a coach for the TL tryout. And Manui did not play well in those tryouts. He's been the exact opposite on stage. It's like watching a totally different player as him and Trevor have actually been a legitimately good bot lane in Challengers.
Which is so important when you're looking at the trends of the earlier part of the NACL. So many teams playing through that bot lane. So it's wonderful when somebody can defy expectations in that way. It's also why sometimes the bot lane position can be the hardest to evaluate the player's skill with it being dependent upon the setup or, the comps, et cetera, et cetera. So when seeing the team play around him effectively, really definitely are popping off.
And it is one of the few teams in the league that will reliably shift to Manui's Seraphine a lot of the times. And in fact, I think it's one of the only teams that still runs that other than...
that's getting banned today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Permaban status of Seraphine, you got to respect it from Manui's side. But over on the opponent's side, CLG Challengers, when we talk about... You already mentioned, it is hard to evaluate how well a bot lane can do, especially an AD carry, when it is so incredibly dependent on the rest of the team and what the draft is and all these external variables. When we look at Meech, this was a guy who not only was kind of hyped up in the amateur scene, but didn't get to play in the comp scene for so long. He now finally had a chance to debut last summer. And then alongside Breezy was one of the bot lanes that we were really expecting, hey, if you want to push yourself and make a name for yourself, you have to be one of the best bot lanes in the league. And there's even some shared history between Meech and Trevor, the support for Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah, they go way back in amateurs. They played on a lot of teams together. But, I mean, we're talking about Meech and Breezy at the right time, right? I think that as a team, we consider Lost and Zazel to be the strongest bot lane that we have in Challengers now that Tomo got promoted. Spawn and Diamond are still trying to find it. They just beat C9 yesterday. And so... 2-0. Meech and Breezy, we're starting to see much better things from them as we get into the split. And honestly, I'm pretty excited for the bot lane matchup today. I think that it still is bot-focused meta. And each of these bot lanes have been scaling and improving. Gonna have to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and that victory against Cloud9, I'm sure definitely has some energy in their boots. Breezy in the interview also making note of the fact that this is a squad that came in with 4 of the 5 same members, Copy being the only new addition, which allowed them to start the split with the fundamentals down and improve ever since. So ceiling still not reached for this squad, but a nice foundation on which they've been able to build upon.
Yeah, and it's something that even their LCS team is very well known for as well, returning with at least a majority majority of the players in the LCS team's sake, all 5 of them, but only swapping out Copy and bringing him in after Cloud9 thought they were too good for him. Well, Copy got his revenge against Cloud9 in their most recent series, saying, hey, maybe you should not have slept on me beforehand. But of course, now getting ready for CLG Challengers and Cincinnati Fear, their 2 games. There's a lot on the line, especially with both CLG and Fear tied in the standings, want to make a push to put themselves at a great spot for the playoffs contention as we are getting into that part of the Challengers League after the conclusion of regular season. So with game 1 coming your way, take it away.
Game number 1 of an extremely dope matchup we've got here, Cubby, because we already talked at the top of the day about how it's always exciting when you have a Challengers team, you know, like CLG Challengers versus a provisional team like Fear. The fact that they are both tied in the standings, so this is the difference maker. I think this is the last time both of the teams are playing, if I'm not mistaken. So the last chance to make your stand before you start preparing for playoffs, and it's against a team that has been an even footing with you as of recently.
I was really looking forward to this matchup because of just the form that we saw CLG play in against C9, taking them down 2-0. Not an easy feat, as C9 is widely considered to be the top team. And I know that from talking with CLG and some of the teams we talk with behind the scenes, they feel like CLG, they are one of the top teams. They actually say in scrims they're really strong. I asked Copy about it. I was like, hey, like, do you feel like, you know, you're better than your record? Is it worse? And he said, oh, you know what? Our record is what it is. I feel like we've beaten ourselves on stage quite a bit. I'm still new with this team. But as we move into playoffs, we're going to figure out the meta is shifting a lot. It's like we just got to figure out what works for us. And I'm really confident we can continue to keep the good play that we had after that 2-0 over C9 yesterday. So quite the challenge today in Fear is he even recognized that it's a team that he thought would be strong and definitely one that they're going to respect quite a bit. So going to see if they're up to it today.
And I think that respect is something that they will be definitely implementing when thinking back to another portion of that Breezy interview, talking about the way they've overcome this disparity between their scrim performance and on stage is just taking a calmer approach, which often means thinking about who your opponent is and making sure that you don't underestimate the strength that they bring to the table. So CLG wanting to follow up on the momentum they built with that victory against Cloud9 yesterday, bringing Gragas as their first pick, offering that flexibility right off the top. Fear, Xayah, you want to lock in that strong bot laner for Manui, and then also a classic pick in the Sejuani for Perry.
Manui's Xayah has been really good this split, as I think that it was something that actually in their series against 100 Thieves yesterday, he beat Unforgiven in the bot lane with his Xayah pick, and actually it was denied in game 2, which is how 100 Thieves were actually able to pick up that game. But yeah, his Xayah, it's 3-1, 7.1 KDA, and actually quite the flavor coming in here, the Tigress, is we don't have the Rakan with the Xayah. We actually have a Soraka, as the Senna Tom Kench are showing, and that's going to be the pick for Trevor.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of Soraka coming back into the fold with teams throughout this year. So now getting locked in for Fear. And Senna, we talked in one of the earlier matches about how I know that you're very excited when she comes back into a draft because there's so many different ways to play around her. We just saw the multi-melee matchup having Sejuani and melee friends alongside Winsome on the Senna. And now we're getting another classic look alongside that Tom Kench. But what do you think of Soraka coming back in too?
Yeah, this is like the no fun version of the Senna, you know, you just get the TK. But that's all right. We had the Seraphine and the Yasuo earlier, so I guess we'll return to some standards. The Soraka, I really like under the Tom Kench. That big interaction being the silence so that TK can't get the shield off. That gives him so much of that durability. Also, you can stop the W, which is really important for Soraka. She doesn't like flanks or angles. And I think they might actually be looking at a Scion here on the side of Fear, as they have taken away the Gwen plus the Fiora. Would not be surprised we saw Scion on 4.
And Scion is a pick that's been rising in popularity as a tank that can really just hold the own in the top side. Also offer just that protective, big old chunky beefy boy you can throw in the front of a fight. But Fear instead, they are bringing the Cho'Gath.
Blind Cho'Gath, baby. You don't need Scion anymore. Just blind the Cho'Gath. I think that Cho'Gath is really rising as that superior tank. And I love to see Fear take that for themselves with Faisal. Now CLG, of course, they are holding onto that Gragas. That is still a 3-way flex. They have to decide what they're going to do with that. as we actually have a jungle hover. So maybe we have that Gragas and the Cho'Gath handshake on the top side, and we see Kevy try and take something more aggressive. I will say Lee Sin, Sejuani is a pick that really can neutralize Lee Sin as you move throughout the game, but all this displacement and attacking from CLG, that's going to make life a lot harder on that Soraka.
The first part, and I want to see how Fear makes sure that they get the chance to get off the tools that really do help out in these fights. And for CLG, when you've got that classic Senna and Tahm Kench and trying to make sure that you break into a lot of that protective nature for your carries. And so another Yone today, getting another.
Actually, this is curious. Are we gonna see? Because I think Yone into the Blanc is actually, I think it's actually okay for the Blanc, because you can kind of telegraph where you go as Yone. When you use the third Q, you can respond with Chain as the Blanc if Yone goes past the minions. If he moves forward to try and attack you, it does cancel your distortion, but if you just wait it out, it's fine. It is double melee with the Sejuani. What I'm worried about is that CLG, it's got to be a Kraken Slayer Senna to get through that big front line of Fear, but also CLG early. They need to get off the ground and running. They have a lot of ways to create angles on the Xayah Soraka. That's something that both of these champions are very vulnerable to. Just have to see if CLG can get ahead on the map and actually create those angles. A lot of onus on them to make plays early, as they will get outscaled by Fear.
And I want to see how Fear take that into consideration in the way that they decide to play this early game. If you know that CLG are wanting to punish and especially keep Manui from getting to a really strong place on this Xayah. But Cubby, we're getting into the game. With that considered, do you have faith in CLG's ability to find those angles? This is a very talked about team, very hyped up throughout the year, and definitely finding their footing in staging performances.
I think so. Honestly, my biggest concern is just the fact that it's a double silence for Fear, because you have Cho'Gath silence plus Soraka silence. And Soraka Cho'Gath is a really good combo, because if anyone gets caught out by Rupture, you can follow up with the silence, and that's very deadly. So it's, again, very important that CLG gets leads, but this is a team that really plays for early game. As a team in NACL, I think that CLG, they actually have the 4th highest gold diff at 15, and they're like right behind C9 and TL, who are above them. So definitely a big focus on early game and draft. It's a lot of the reason why they are up in gold usually. Just gonna have to see if they're gonna be able to execute.
Losing out right now in the chat voting.
Yeah,
you're getting the best of them.
Well, they're technically the underdogs, being a provisional team.
Oh yes, so the underdog buff in the voting.
Yeah, a little bit. I do like to see that support of our provisional team. Been a fun part about the expansion here, as we'll have a bot lane war over the wards. And Kevy actually going to be starting up on the Raptors. So we'll see if Kevy goes red or Krugs next. If he does go red into Krugs, that would be a dead giveaway that he's going to go straight to bot lane.
And the junglers in general in this matchup are two that we're looking at specifically. Both have a history of wanting to make those early plays. You're just talking about CLG's early game and how that's allowed them to get up in gold, and some of that's going to rely on Kevy and see where he brings this pressure early on.
And each of our junglers is actually going for that Raptors red Krug, so mirrored path very early on. And I will say, could be deadly into Jenkins, as the silence or the rupture could be big if Perry does want to go attack top. But that's not going to be the case, as each jungler is going to go for the full wraparound. So no action early, just going to be continue to lane. And again, just have to see if CLG, how many advantages they can really get.
And, I mean, this bot lane being pretty scrappy in their approach, as you kind of expect when you have someone like the Soraka who can just throw down these Qs, try to zone off a little bit, increase that sustainability, and then over for CLG, Senna and Tahm Kench and make that face at him. Heavy looking for that angle through try. Forward positioning here. Oh, Jenkins looking to collapse now. The flash out immediately to deny.
Really respectful from Faisal. It does keep him in the lane. I will say in isolation, I do prefer the Cho'Gath, but you can see Kevy. I mean, they got the flash once. He used the minions.
Yep, and Jenkins and Kevy, they find Faisal.
Use another minion.
Oh, throws the
cannon.
spear back. Yeah, he got the cannon. He got everything. Oh, yes, 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 yes. All the little friends eating up gobble, gobble, gobble along the way before the death is found.
Well played by CLG, at least setting that Shogath behind a little bit.
Yep.
As Kevy is going to be very behind on the clear in order to get that gank off, and it still is Cho'Gath, so he's going to scale into this matchup okay. I mean, CLG, they have to make plays like this. I still think that things are okay for the side of Fear. That said, I mean, this is the big one here with mid. It's a nice sidestep here from Shochi.
Yeah, those are the moments you need to look at when you know that CLG are going for these earlier plays. Sidestep the crucial connects, but Kevy is still in the area. If you're wondering why I'm struggling, my desk is not raising how I want it to right now, so I'm hunched over in a very awkward angle to take on this fight right now. Kevy getting back to get the shields here with Coffee. All right, Kevy, I am in standing position now.
Oh, love that.
No more craning over.
Full blast for this last game, making sure that we're on top of our game here, just like our teams, as Shochi was able to get that wave in, get the reset. Not all bad, as Kevy still trying to catch up in his clear. He's yet to clear his topside camps. So again, Perry very far ahead, and in this matchup, Sejuani can really neutralize Lee Sin the later stages of the game. Make it really tough for Lee Sin to make plays.
Yeah, into the jungle, Perry goes, and feeling himself with that lead, taking upon this blue. Just that single kill over in the top side so far, and that was following up on Kevy's setup to collapse for the flash and then continue for the kill. And CLG feel good when they're able to get some of these early plays off, but still lots of chances to keep building a gold lead. And Shochi also just getting some of these deep wards because Kevy now going to have a harder time making those aggressive plays, at least over on the bot side, until those are cleared.
I also just love the response that Perry had. He got the blue buff and the Gromp, and only leaving that wolf camp that Kevy has yet to kill, so this isn't going to give him a ton of XP. Perry going to be very far ahead in the jungle, as he had a really nice big first clear. That again, Fear, they want to scale, so getting that Sejuani going early might help him tank up some of the damage from what is a little bit of a lower damage team composition here from CLG.
Yeah, it's not really going to be hitting that hard yet. Copy, it'll take some time before really getting that burst potential to completely ice out one of the targets on Fear's side. You notice Kevy's rotation over into the enemy jungle, looking for
mid dive,
a potential angle on Shochi. The wave is pushed. Kevy's here. Going for it. The root is good.
Oh.
A blast cone from Perry can't get there, though. That's the second kill for CLG as a squad.
Well played. I mean, Copy, he ate the fate sealed and still was able to get out, as the fate was truly sealed for Shochi.
What was that fate again? That was a sealed?
Fate sealed, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm on it? We're good?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay. Well,
I had to get my bullying in, but it was only light bullying.
Yeah, Rafa had to get his thoughts in, too. He's pretty thrilled about what's going on right now. But that said, still Fear, they're able to answer with a dragon, as they know that Copy was on a reset, and they had bot lane priority. So, again, it's a kill for CLG. It's gold. They're up 1k, but I still feel like they need a bigger lead than this, and a lot of importance for me is going to be on that first Rift Herald.
Now we'll see how that ends up going, because Kevy's holding both of the kills right now for CLG. First dragon now acquired for Fear. You're at 7:20 into the game. And I'm just going to keep looking at where CLG try to take their early pressure in. Because a lot of times on that bot side right now, we've just seen that poke back and forth. You know, Breezy stepping forward, taking as much of it as possible. Meech standing behind to get that poke backwards. You know, Trevor here able to zone off with the Q and the E effectively. But the rest of the map is where most of the action has been had.
Well, we might see some of that action shift up here, as Herald may be pretty tantalizing for both of our teams. Cho'Gath actually has the shove on the top side, so you can see Faisal going to walk down, and Fear should be able to clear out some of the wards here, as Trevor is first on the punch. And also, Manui looks like he's going to run bot. We just had the reset from the bot lane of CLG. As CLG, they have to try and buy time while their bot lane's going to get up here, and they really want this Herald fight. Their comp's very strong at this point of the game.
Oh, yeah, everyone's got their eyes on it right now. Copy, Kevy, and Jenkins zoning out. See if they can establish some of the vision for themselves. Lots of controls were marked down, but after the clear out from Fear, CLG up to do it next. Meech and Breezy coming in. Walk down by Manui. Parry over the wall. Keeps the eyes onto Kevy, who gets stunned up. And the subject of the fate sealed again. The Dawning Shadow across from Meech. Both ultimates used by the bot lane of CLG.
Kevy, he's going to try and heal up, but he's so low that might just be the start for Fear. Faisal was able to get top line priority at that time, and I think Fear, they've actually managed to get the Rift Herald thanks to the chunk that Parry found on the Kevy.
Oh, yeah, they're on it right now. So this is definitely theirs for the taking. Sometimes you don't have to get the kill. You just have to get the biggest threats to the objective out of the fight. And Kevy, being the jungler, they did exactly that. Could not heal up. So Rift Herald #1 for Fear. Major objective control on both sides of the map.
And I think something that Fear has done so well in the past couple weeks really has been their macro. Hold on, Faisal. Okay, able to find a knockup.
Got some of that sustain working on in. Heavy making another
He's
visit.
in trouble.
Doesn't want to commit to it yet. There's still a little bit of this wave that Faisal is pushing on forward. And Jenkins, though, in the 1v1, putting in some work. Both of them running a little low. Kevy did not actually back. Waited just enough time for them to be able to secure this off. What does Faisal decide to do? Flash is out. Cannot bring down. Can he bring down Jenkins? Yes, he can. Both of the solo laners go down.
They forgot about the Soraka ult, baby.
Yeah.
He held it the entire time as Trevor helping out his teammate, the top side. The global ambulance comes in clutch for the Cho'Gath. At least able to trade one back. Again, big deal for the Cho. This champion scales really hard. They're going to be just fine into the matchup with Gragas and Fear. Continue to find small wins. Yes, it's a deficit, but given how these comps play out, CLG, their comp, they're already behind where they want to be. They failed to take that first Rift Herald too, so that's an injection of gold that Fear can use to actually even up the scoreboard. And CLG, a lot of the plays they're making, it's just going even. That's not enough.
Yeah, somewhat neutralizing that play with that wish granted by Trevor, because Fear, when they're able to make sure that Jenkins goes down alongside Faisal, it takes some of the wind out of the sails of Kevy spending so much time over on that top side. And we're still a while off from the next major objectives, over a minute now until the Dragons. So you're not losing that much by actually expelling the Soraka ultimate at that point in time. Getting plenty of value around mid, though.
Oh,
a root
Kevy.
and the answer. Kevy pushing him back with a shockwave. Shoji going in with a fate sealed and the Dawning Shadow across the board. Copy goes down. Shoji being a little dangerous right here, but they throw it back onto Kevy. Fear coming out on top.
The bot lane priority, Trevor was able to reset first. He gets to this fight first. And the combo from Kevy, yeah, the kick was good as he found two, but he wasn't able to connect with a Sonic Wave afterwards. So it actually was able to escape for Shochi, and the Fear turned it around.
Oh, Fear really cutting in to what CLG have been trying to pull off. Now have over 1,000 gold lead, objective control. Look at the plates that have been marked down here across mid. Look at the life on Shochi. Ooh. A flash forward from Meech. Can't connect. Oh no. Now you're on the retreat. Bye-bye, Meech. A little bit of an overcommit right there.
Oh, man, Trevor chips in to make sure his old teammate and friend goes down as Shochi. He gets a bonus kill, and Fear, this is a big gold lead for them. This game, CLG, they needed to make things happen early in this game. Yes, they still have a couple tools. The displacement from Gragas and Lee Sin could be big, but look at how tanky this front line for Fear is going to get. Senna needs a Kraken Slayer. Okay, here it is. Kevy goes for the kick flash, but no Sonic Wave. It doesn't connect on the Shochi. He flashes out, connects with a really nice Fate Sealed on the copy that takes him down with the help of the silence. Trevor flashed in to make sure his buddy's A-okay, and Fear turned that around. Mid-lane skirmish going their way. Not good for Elise and the Blanc team.
CLG, they were making those early plays at first, and now Fear slicing into it, and you can see just how they're able to keep around in these fights. That's going to happen all the more as Trevor throughout the game can offer additional resources in that healing capacity. So Fear, Cubby, they're really making a statement right now.
Yeah, that was Senna mechanics there. The vision cut hurt. Okay, hold on. Copy.
Looking for the way out. Looking for a way for Kevy and the rest to follow. Wow. Shochi going in again with the fate sealed. And Copy with the clones getting on out of there. A CLG, Breezy and the like want to keep on it, flashing away. The shield is good for some time on Breezy. Shochi wants to go for it, cannot connect. Whew. Definitely see the red in the eyes of these players, though, Cubby.
Yeah, red's in the eyes, but the only red I see is the CLG health bars because they don't have the ambulance with them. That's Cincinnati Fear. So Trevor keeps everyone topped off. That second dragon going over to them after the skirmish.
Stacking that on up. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Fear right now against CLG. So, Cubby, with CLG really prioritizing the early game in the draft and their approach now that they are down, how worried are you for them?
I'm very worried. This is a pretty doomed game. I think that the plays for CLG, it's just got to be through the Lee Sin LeBlanc again. They gotten some tools out of Fear, so you can make the plays, but Sejuani Shogath are going to be such deadly neutralizers, and it's not enough damage on the side of CLG to deal with the front line of Fear. So it's all Fear. And again, I think it's something that a lot of players are crediting Fear for. Whenever I talk to teams about Fear, why they're considered a top competitor, these guys play as 5 really well. And I think we've seen some instances of that with how they've been able to answer the mid lane plays. And it's not like there are any one tricks or, single strats that Fear's been having success on. It's been a lot of flexibility from them. We're seeing that again here with this Soraka answer that ended up being so good this game.
It's one of the easiest ults to forget about on the opponent team. It's not a very intrusive one in terms of what it actually looks like on your screen. But then as soon as you see that wish effect come in, then a lot of your attempt to burst down the opponents, someone like Copy is wanting to do exactly that, who has a Luden's Tempest at this point, but is often facing off against multiple members of Fear, then those windows are slowly closing in these team fight abilities. And Faisal, for instance, on this Cho'Gath, that I think we'll just be seeing more and more of this pick. Yes, you get that secondary smite technically in some cases with the ult, but also just a unit that can absorb so much from the enemy squad.
Yeah, this pick's not okay. Because of the buffs, he smashes Sion even harder than what we saw in the last patch, and I think that we're just going to start seeing blind Cho'Gath instead of Sion, given how strong this champion can be, and then the lane he has in the Sion, and how difficult it is to play those games. So let's see if Faisal gets a freebie stack here. That's always the feel good.
Woo! Another little yum meet 'em up. A Rift Herald now in Perry's possession. We're past plated territory, but we ain't past death territory for Copy. Flashing on forward. See? Fear. You can tell they're feeling themselves, Cubby. You can tell that they really like how some of those plays happened around mid, that Copy is having a difficult time standing up against this pressure, especially when you have that killer instinct with the flash forward like Shochi just had, and Fate Field often being available for the collapse.
And it's sometimes the small things with Fear, like while they were playing for Herald taking mid play, Manui had the sacrifice things bot, but he based, he reset, he made sure he didn't go down, and now, of course, he's returned to the wave while his team just won across the map. I mean, these are things that we expect out of our top-tier Challengers teams, out of our LCS teams for sure. That's something that Fear consistently does as a provisional team, and part of why they're a team that are respected as being one of the best teams we have in Challengers.
That cohesion in macro is something that takes a lot of time to build up, because how many times have we seen players with extreme mechanical skill, but then kind of fizzle out over time because they don't quite find a way to make it work in certain team compositions? Maybe their champ pool doesn't quite gel, or maybe it's just not a team that wants to play around them effectively, whatever it may be. But when you got a team that can be on the same page, none of that matters. It is truly a sums greater than the parts, and when you got some parts that are already very formidable opponents, then you're feeling good about this team going into playoffs.
I know that with this team too, when talking to them about their macro, they're like, hey, it's actually just pretty easy. You just have to kind of follow the rules of the game, see what the map is, and if you can establish it. A lot of that it's a team effort as always, but most of the comms fall on Perry and Trevor, with Perry talking the most in this team. So he handles some of the early game, Trevor more of the later stages, and overall been really good for Fear. Won't be a follow-up there from Perry to take on the Tom Kench, but still Fear, 1.5k goldie, 2 dragons. Given the comps, they are chilling right now.
Even in moments like that, they dish out some damage into Breezy because they see the isolation of targets, but it is a Tom Kench, so they don't overcommit. But then here, You find Copy and Kevy all on their own. Jochi going in again. The shadow strikes across the board from Meech, and Fear having to disengage here. But 25 seconds until this dragon comes about. Fear are happy about getting out that Senna ultimate, as well as chunking down and pushing off some members of CLG so they can crash this Rift Herald into the bottom turret.
Yeah, looking like Meech is working on that Boy to the Rune King build that we're seeing Senna go for often now is Kevy. It's a double silence.
Still Kevy silenced up again. Some heal coming out from Meech. Manages to use the shield to get back into the back line. But Faisal doesn't care about getting locked up. Faisal don't care about nothing. Just going and making that face at him so CLG can't make their way over towards this dragon.
He's Cho'Gath, baby. You don't need words. Just walk on in there. You're the big monster. No one on CLG can deal with Cho'Gath. So Fear can start this objective up for free. CLG, I mean, all their damage is really on Copy. It's just whatever he can find. As that's a nice chunk on the at least. But look,
Soraka. Yeah, the heal just comes right back. Yep. Immediately chunk for heal, chunk for heal, chunk for heal. That's what we see between CLG and Fear in a lot of these. Double knock up onto 2 from the Cho'Gath, and Kevy is looking for the angle over into the blue wall.
He's going to try and find Soraka.
Coming through with a cast, sets things up. A silence onto Jenkins, who has to flash over the wall. Now Kevy, isolated, goes for the kick onto Trevor. Trevor now flashing on back. Copy over the wall, kills off Trevor. Faisal making the face over into CLG, but way into the back line. Copy is still set on the rest of Fear. Manui dishing back that effort, though, off of the aggression. Faisal marked down low, cannot stand in front of the rest. Manui with no body to block. Gets popped. The follow-up onto the Cho'Gath. CLG turning it around.
That's a crazy play from CLG. This is not a good game state for them. And the way they managed to play that out, Kevy waiting to find Trevor, taking the Soraka away from the fight, realizing the value she brings with the heal and the silences for this comp. That was wonderfully played as CLG managed to actually deny Soul Point.
With no way to keep Faisal in the squad still in the fight, that HP bar just got whittled down until the bot laner is all on their lonesome.
This is such a tough fight. Again, like CLG, they have some strength now, but Fear, they're up. They're so much stronger later. It was a great cast from Jenkins as he makes life really hard from Manui. But then look at Kevy. He waits out all the silences, all the tools. Then he finds the kick flash onto Trevor, and Copy played this out wonderfully, flashing over the Fate Seal to make sure that chain connected onto the Soraka. He finds another on the back half as he takes down the Yone, and that's what opened up everything for CLG to win this fight. And Kevy as well, really nice safeguard to get out of that from Louis Sin, open everything up to turn. Really well played by CLG. They needed that fight or else this game was going down. It was already a doomed game state, but now CLG are actually at a place where things are playable.
Yes, it suddenly is so different. We're just thinking, oh no, CLG's early game plays did not work out for them. How the heck are they going to get back? But then now, still following up upon that dragon play by finding Manui over here on mid. Almost connect with the final hit. Whoo, that was a close one. Trevor using Wish right there to make sure that no kill is afforded to CLG.
Now, first off, Manui's going for second item LDR. I really like this. Look at all the armor that CLG has on 4 of their members already with the steel caps on Senna. Second, it's an even gold game right now. Mountain Dragon is a good dragon for CLG. I still think this game is really, really hard for them. As I fear, again, they have Soraka scaling. They have Cho'Gath scaling. They have ways to deal with the playmaking of CLG. I think it's going to be really tough, but the fact that CLG still managed to pull off that fight and even up this game in the game state, that was a ridiculous fight from CLG, but that is what is required of them if they actually want to win this game.
And it does for the CLG fans at least give you some hope that they can pull something like that off again, because it wasn't like it was this major misplay from Fear. It was a great kick from Kevy, a great follow-up from Copy and the rest of the team to make that happen after taking Trevor out. But how much of a difference is it if you do not kill Trevor right off the start? I expect CLG to continue focusing down on that target.
Soraka is vulnerable to angles and displacement. That is something that CLG does have a lot of. If Trevor stays alive, we have seen what the ambulance can do for the rest of the team. That ambulance is also... I don't know what Moonstone adds to the ambulance here, the Tigress. It's got to add something.
It's like makes the siren... Like, what's the... Well, that's not the siren. What's the light Is there a special name for the light on an ambulance?
I don't know. It's gotta power it up though in some way. Like
yeah. You know how like in sci-fi there's so many things that are just fueled by stones.
Yep.
Powerful stone. I imagine the Moonstone being the power source. Very eco-friendly ambulance that we have in Trevor. Not running off gas.
There we go. I mean, Shirelia's would be, you know, upgrading the engine. I feel like Moonstone, you know, maybe upgrades like the heal kits within it.
We're getting into mech territory. The ambulance is just a giant customizable mech.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the only way to beat it is to kick it in the rest of your team. That adds up just about. Additional
potassium source with some bananas too. Really keeps fear fueled throughout this game.
Good snack to have in that ambulance. I'd take some nanners.
Yeah, the diet I was on for the past 3 days is like almost entirely bananas for fruit. I have eaten so many bananas. I think I summoned Soraka into the meta, actually.
Well, I think Fear's happy about that. It's been doing a lot of favors in this game, and we'll see if this next dragon fight can go a little bit better for Fear.
Yeah, I mean, even if you feel the effect of how CLG were able to pull things out in that fight around Dragon, I think that Fear can still take that collected approach of, okay, that was crazy and all, but look at what position we're going to be at the later portion of the game. Look at where they're going to be feeling. There's 55 seconds until the next Dragon, so some time to set up a potential pick or get the wording about when it becomes relevant. That's why the top laner is sent back over towards top. They both have teleport available to really affect the next fight.
And Fear already have control over this side of the map as can't see Copy doing his best. Has that Void Staff, and again, Copy, really the person that we have to look towards. He played that last fight really, really well on the side of CLG. So Copy, kind of up to him to make the plays. It's still not a lot of damage coming out of that Senna.
And Copy, the reason we've talked so much about Copy over the past years is because proven to be a really tested talent and able to absorb that pressure from a team when you need him to make the plays in these fights to really isolate those squishy targets and pop them off before you can take the time as a squad to burn down those that are difficult to do so on, like the Cho'Gath and even Shochi in some cases. But right now, Fear starting up on the Dragon. They know that CLG are making their way through over the wall. Kevy is looking for that setup. Was seen for a moment.
Copy sneaking in too. Fear, they aren't really marking the flankers here. As you can see, they're stopping the Dragon to try and recover this, but CLG have set up some decent angles to start off.
Ultimates available for all, but Jenkins just having utilized one. Fear now encompassed by CLG. Jenkins goes in for the double knock, and Trevor marked down. Double knock up on the multiple members of CLG as Shochi goes on in. No Trevor around. Nothing to be had. Fear really trying to go on in and make up for the fact that they've lost a couple members here, but the pursuit is good from Breezy and more.
Oh my god.
CLG turning it on to the rest of Fear. It's the biggest, chunkiest members available right now for the Fear squad, so they take some time to burn on down. They pick one target in Faisal, which means that Perry can go away. As Faisal is eliminated, CLG can take the second Dragon.
The setups from CLG are just way too good around these Dragons as they find Trevor again. And if you take out this Soraka, it makes the fight so much easier for CLG as Meech is just raining down hell from overhead. As again, Fear, they did this too slow. They allowed for the setup to come in as it's the Jenkins start with the body slam, but then it's Kevy who follows up really nicely. On the backside though, Shochi goes down, and so that's half the damage already gone from the side of Fear, and then Manui is all they have to worry about. And watch Copy after the flash just finds this chain. Even if he dies here, which he does in the end, it's worth it because they trade out for Manui. Just a great understanding about Kevy and Copy, what they have to do in this game, and the setups from CLG are just better.
I mean, speaking of setups, we haven't actually talked about Jenkins that much in this matchup, even though I think he's had a really great split so far. Has evolved a lot since coming into the scene and being known for his Kennen play and making a bit of a splash on the LCS stage. And also, when looking at CLG's voices on this squad and Jenkins really stepping into a leadership position, working on his communication, that's very important when seeing him on picks like the Gragas, who's looking to set up these fights and really establish that game plan for the squad.
Jenkins is definitely a talker, and I love the fact that you're highlighting him because he's someone that you know, as a top laner that was in LCS at the start of last year, obviously dropping down to then Academy, now Challengers, not the trajectory that you want, but it feels like this split's been a great bounce back for Jenkins. As I know, even talking with other top laners, like Soul has a ton of respect for him over on EG, thinks that he's being really slept on right now. Jenkins, even on the Gragas, in these fights, he's been so valuable, and that was a great engage that really helped throw Manui and Fear off, as now CLG, that's 2 Mountain Dragons. Oh, hold on.
Well, explosive cast into the center of 3 buys them enough time to take down the tier 2, and the response to the Feather Storm after that lockdown from Kevy. So very defensively used because of the way Kevy has been trying to get in on these carries.
I still think that for CLG, these 2 Mountain Dragons do help quite a bit, but at the moment, Fear, we're getting a little bit funky. They're trying to sneak this. Oh, Copy's gonna find. No. Oh.
Wait
no
a
way.
minute. Wait
no
a minute.
way.
Wait.
No way.
Wait.
No way.
Oh my gosh. So Fear just got the Baron.
Yeah, I just casually 2-manned it with Yone Sejuani, just as I predicted, you know? Casual gameplay going on.
Yep, and CLG predicted that too.
Yeah, it's all part of the plan as this game continues to get crazier. I hope you're enjoying your time here in Challengers. So we're trying to deliver some hype games for you, Tigers.
These games have been great. I think last match was a blast, and then now coming into this one, which I think was one of the most anticipated matchups. They're definitely delivering. CLG pulling out all the stops after falling behind, still managing to get control with a couple Dragon stacks, but then Fear responding with the Baron buff in tow. We'll have to see what they can make of it, though. You see that Faisal was spending that time on that top side to try and get one of these pushes going. They have taken down the outer turrets thus far. See if they can convert something into a tier 2. There's still a lot of time until that next dragon spawns.
I like the fact you bring up the time, though, because I think that's what this Baron really does buy Fear. Again, this is a team where later on in the game, if you don't deal with Soraka, we've seen the power that she brings to the table. CLG, they've done a fantastic job of finding Soraka and winning fights that I really think they should have been. So CLG, I mean, they have to do it again, but the setup is going to be so much harder for them to find the same flanks when Fear does have the Baron-empowered waves to try and set up for the Dragon that is spawning here shortly.
Even in that last fight when they took down Trevor, still got the ultimate off first, getting some engage over in the jungle side. Perry for a while was ebbing in and out. Oh, another blast back of the explosive cast and flashing from the Soraka 4. And here's the fade sealed. Shochi looking for some kills, but Copy still hasn't gotten into it just yet. A route onto the Cho'Gath, the blast through of the ultimate from Meech, and no lives lost. Plenty of sums. Some ultimates to boot. Baron buff still in tow for Fear, bringing that pressure over towards the bot side, but all the while, Faisal making sure to match Copy over towards mid.
So I think the true treasure there for CLG, they got the flash off Soraka. You know, if this was LCS, I could like draw on the screen. I'm just putting a big X, marks the spot on that summoner spell, because that is exactly where CLG are going to look. Heavy has the kick coming up again shortly. And Sam and Copy will try and find the same angles, but Fear playing through bot this time around with mid control. Going to be tough for CLG to get around Fear and collapse on them the way they have done the last couple times they have won them the fights.
And because Faisal is staying over towards mid, that tier 2 going down, 4 towers eliminated in Fear's favor. Looking at another fight around this dragon. And yes, Trevor is still flashless, ultimate at the ready. Shochi can build back up that HP by just slinging away with some of these hits. Perry wanting to find that lock in the back. There's a stun onto 2. Teleport coming in support of CLG. Copy over the wall is sought after by Shochi, who has to go right back to where he scored from. Kevy goes down. Fear out on top in the fight. Eliminate 2. They take the dragon. This has been swinging all the while with a gold lead. Now almost 3K for Fear.
They actually just used the redemption on the waves. They're going to try and keep that healthy and push on in. Shochi does have TP if he wants to go back. Fear are going to try and get as much as they can here. I don't think they can look for the game. Each spawns too soon, but they're going to look for a lot.
Still 12 seconds to go for Meech, but a short one all the while. They will be able to take this mid inhibitor. Not enough that Copy and Jenkins can do to poke them off, but Fear not getting too greedy either and backing off.
I still love that from Fear, and that's, I think, how the fight should look at this point of the game, going up against CLG's comp. Again, it's not heroics from Kevy and Copy. It is so difficult to fight into what Fear is packing. All the silences make life so hard for the Lee Sin, LeBlanc, and that time when Fear fought on their terms, we saw how one-sided the fight could be.
To think that early on in this game, it was looking like Fear was pretty much taking control because of all their denial of CLG.
Yeah.
And then CLG proved that they're scrappy enough where as long as they were targeting Trevor, they could find the fight win to start pulling back control of some of these objectives, particularly around that Dragon Pit. But ever since Fear snuck that Baron, so sneaky. Even though it was kind of timed in a way where, as you mentioned, it was just more of a buying time thing, they've really managed to lean into the strength that we expected from them. At this point in the game, if he can't get back onto those targets, CLG, not as many resources available to them in these fights.
I said, like, what, 16 minutes in, this game was doomed for CLG? The fact that we're here, I think, really speaks to the play we've seen from CLG, even if it's likely to be a loss for them. The early game was so disastrous, and when you have a comp like this, you need that early game to work out. CLG has done wonders to get themselves back into this one. I don't think it's going to be enough, and we will see as Fear, they have about a 2-minute and 30-second window between when Dragon spawns, which would be sold for them, and when Baron comes up, which is here shortly. And I think that Fear can really look to pressure that at this point, given the items on their carries.
30 seconds until that Baron comes up, and if you're looking at CLG, how can they pull off the victories in these fights? We saw some massive plays from Copy, has the Rabadon's death cap, has a nice spike here with 3 items, and Fear, though, they're the first to make their rotation over towards this Baron side so they can set up.
Kevy stopped his recall. He is behind. He had one control ward helping him out, but Shochi's going to find him out as he goes to that top wave. So Kevy, yeah, he's got to run for the hills now.
Oh, and look where Fear's coming from. Shochi in for it. Kevy has to kick him away. Fear utterly collapsing upon the CLG jungler. Not what you want to see from CLG. Now Faisal just zoning them off, using the silence, absorbing some of these lockdowns by CLG. Double knockup and silence still to follow up. Copy wants to see who he can find in the back. Dishes a lot of damage for Nui. There's the ultimate coming out from Jenkins, but CLG just gets burned down. No Breezy for that protection. No Meech for that damage. No more Jenkins if he gets eaten up alive after the knockup flashes out after the second knockup potential. But they don't need a Baron on Fear's side if they're just going to win the fight, baby. They take down 3. They've got the minions coming into the base. It's all on Copy and Jenkins. Copy over onto Trevor. Will be able to burn one down, but Perry now has sights all the while. Turrets targeted by Fear, and CLG about to go down to the provisional team that has been really rocking the NACL. But in style, of course, they want to get every last life before they hit that Nexus. Let's go, energy in full flow ahead of the playoffs.
Fear, it's a big win for them. It at least guarantees that they're going to be a similar seed to CLG. I got to say, I don't exactly know what the tiebreaker strategy is when the standings end for the day. But Fear, they are up a game, and that was a really crisp early game. I got to give a lot of credit to CLG. I thought they were done, dusted in that game, given the comp. They had 2 really, really creative fights where they really were able to get so much further into the game than what I thought they should have. So props to them with that, but that early game from Fear was too damn good. Really put CLG on the back foot, and their comp was never really able to get off the ground fully.
We'll have to see what kind of adjustments CLG make, considering that they showed those glimmers of light, but had a deficit that they were working past. Game number 2 on the way after this break.